job. Thank you. A wheelchair bound person to stand up because she's Madonna. Why shouldn't we all get on our feet, right? She can raise the dead. What is it with these people? First of all, I don't know what she's charging for a concert, but I'm sure it's in the hundreds of dollars a seat. And I am not paying big money to stand on my feet for 2 hours. It's called a seat for a reason. Why do we have to stand? Sit down. Yeah. Unbelievable. So I unfortunately didn't have time to queue up Joe's contribution to that Idiocracy years ago. Of course, we could spend a whole 3 hours playing nothing but gaffes. It's that bad. David Blackman is our guest, and I'd like you to now. I watch stuff on TikTok. There's, in fact, that little sequence of people saying that Donald Trump incited an erection that came from a TikTok clip. So there's a few useful things on there, but why do we have to suddenly put them out of business or at least ban them, David?
Well, the nominal reason that they're giving us is apparently they think that the Chinese government is too influential in TikTok. But we've known that for a long time, right? I mean, we've known that for 4 years. And Congress hasn't really shown a lot of concern. They held some hearings a couple of years ago, decided not to do anything. Justice Department can't be bothered to do anything. But now suddenly it's an election year.
Oh.
And we're going after TikTok. And the Senate actually passed a bill that would, ban TikTok in the United States last week. And the House is voting on it later this week. And if it passes the House, it's going to go to the president's desk, and the president said he'd sign it. Okay. So what is the difference between TikTok? Let's take China out of the equation. What's the other main difference between TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter?
I can't think.
Well, not Twitter, but TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. Well, TikTok is not under any control of the federal government and a censorship regime in the federal government, like Facebook and Instagram are, and Google and all the other social media platforms, except for Twitter, which is now called X.
Right.
So they're going after TikTok right now, and early in this election year, for the same reason about a dozen different agencies of the federal government are going after Elon Musk right now, because X is not cooperating with the federal censorship regime either. And that's why this is happening at this moment in time. I'm not defending TikTok or the Chinese government here, but we have to understand that the main driver behind this is the censorship state being very concerned at having these independent social media voices out there in the lead up to the election, because in 2020, they were able to censor everything they didn't want to get out to the public,
right,
because they had control over all the social media and media platforms. But if X and TikTok are sitting out there independent from that, then suddenly the people have means of getting real information about mail-in ballots, for example, or whatever false flag event they want to mount to force mass mail-in ballots on us. The government censored all this truthful information about COVID and the vaccines and all of that stuff during 2020. And so that, I think the reason they're going after TikTok right now is because it's an election year and they're afraid of it.
I hear this and I think about, especially having seen the movie, and there's, by the way, a great series on Apple called Masters of the Air, which is about the World War II B-17 pilots who got into these crates with almost a certainty that they would die before they could finish their missions. And those guys, the guys that stormed the beach at Normandy and every other hellhole, if somebody had come to them while they're in the middle, getting ready to throw their life on the line, and said, oh, by the way, in another 80 years, we'll have a doddering, senile president who is going to literally erase the freedoms that you are fighting here for today. Do you still want to continue? They would have thrown their arms aside and said, no, why would I want to do this if this is the way it's going to be?
Right.
They just crap on that legacy with everything they do, including this ridiculous censorship. Censorship is only needed when the message you want to convey is unpopular because you can't win the argument, so you have to stifle the other half.
Right. And it's important when you want to control the population and the information it receives. And that, unfortunately, is what we allowed to happen in 2020 and related to a lot of different things, including BLM and Antifa and all the riots. All of that, any contrary information to the government's line on all that was censored.
Think about
And
all the businesses, David, and government agencies, the military that fired people
yeah,
because they did not want to take that vaccine. And now they're begging to get them back. The lasting impacts of that on our current workplace. I know so many small businesses can't find people that are willing to work. The effects of this far exceed the number of people who are physically afflicted with COVID, which has been
right.
around for anyway. It's just the whole thing's an obscenity.
It is. And we have to recognize this censorship regime is not just in the United States, it's across the entire Western world.
Mhm.
We have the EU and Canada and Australia and New Zealand. Every aspect of what we call the Western world is headed down the same path. Brazil is headed
Right.
down the same path. And it's, we're moving to become China. And the censorship ability in China to control the message to the people is crucial to their ability to implement the social credit score that they use now to deny people the ability to do business or shop or buy a car if they don't behave appropriately to the way the government wants them to behave. That's what we're headed towards in this country, in the censorship monolith that has been built by our intelligence agencies and the rest of the federal government in conjunction with social media and all the legacy media platforms is crucial to being able to continue moving in that direction.
All about obtaining some level of absolute power. David, please give your blog address again. We have our bottom of the hour news break and some financial talk with Brant McDonald coming up.
Yes, it's davidblackman.substack.com for politics and blackman.substack.com for energy.
And again, I invite those of you who follow David and read his blog to follow me on Facebook, Greg Budell, GregBuddell, very simple. And thanks to all of you who follow David, who have now become part of my social media family, at least to the extent that Mark Zuckerberg will let you, I put a picture of a hunk of meatloaf with an egg and cheese on it today, and everybody sees it. But when I put something up that people really need to see, like that graph you found in Financial Times, 6 people look at it.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we're up against here, folks. And that is absolutely frightening. Right now, it is the Brant McDonald that we refer to as Mr. Right on the Money. With a take on today's Money News, Brant, how are you?
Greg, hey, buddy, I'm doing really well. Got a first ball game of the year this afternoon.
Hey.
I appreciate, as usual,
Opening day.
me call in. That's exactly right. But this is a huge week, a really, really big week. We're going to be reporting all week long on all kinds of different data. We're going to kick it off tomorrow morning with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. That comes out at its usual time, which is 7:30 Central. And, of course, we will be calling at 8:30 to kind of give you that early read and an early take on the numbers. Certainly by tomorrow afternoon, we're going to see how the market digested those numbers. We'll have a lot more to report. But Thursday, then we also get the Producer Price Index, which follows that up. And, man, we also get some retail sales data. We get consumer sentiment numbers. There's a lot of data coming out this week. Industrial production, which is an important number this week because we saw that ISM number last week, the ISM manufacturing and services numbers that were unexpectedly worse than people thought it would be. So that question continues to hang over our heads, over the whole market right now, as to whether or not we're really slowing down enough that we may potentially go into a recession. Of course, the big topic on everyone's mind is what is the Fed going to do? When are they going to cut rates? We're going to be talking about that from a political perspective this week, mainly because of the way that Biden telegraphed in his speech and interview on Friday that he was quite convinced. This is so hilarious. He was quite convinced that the Fed was going to be cutting rates real soon. And as you know, we've been reporting on what's really happening in Washington for the last many weeks, that there's some infighting going on between the Fed and the Treasury, a lot of pressure coming from the White House to do something about these high interest rates. The last thing I would add to that is to remember that we had another piece of data today where the average among most economists and what is being priced into the market is long-term inflation of 3%. That's what the market believes. The Fed believes they're going to get to 2%. We're going to see who wins this battle. I just don't know. All this pressure from the White House, political year, they run a real risk of igniting inflation if they ease up on policy too soon.
Grant, we appreciate the analysis, and of course, we'll keep that 8:30 slot open for you if you want to call and comment on the numbers that are coming out this week as they occur. We really appreciate it, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, we're back in town from the conference last week, so we're going to be right on it with you in the morning at 8:30.
And by the way, please text me the score so we can announce it on our morning sports.
We certainly will, man. The Fighting Bedells are pretty fired up. They're out there. They have been working hard. We'll see what we can do tonight.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, man.
Wish the kids our best.
The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. The opinions expressed in this material do not necessarily reflect the views of LPL Financial. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Invista Advisors, registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.
I don't understand a word you just said.
It's Thomas Weather, brought to you by H&H Carpets, where you will find a complete line of Mohawk carpet with exceptionally clean, smart strand fiber. It's always available and ready to be installed. H&H Carpets, across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Well, hi, everybody. Temperatures will be way below normal tonight with low temperature in the upper 30s with mainly clear skies, maybe a couple of degrees colder in some of the outlying areas. We'll be watching that. Of course, we're into the growing season. For tomorrow, the temperature recovery begins with mostly sunny skies, high 72, up to about 76 Wednesday with more sun, upper 70s to near 80 on Thursday, and showers and storms holding off until Friday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
This spring, mow with the flow with a Kubota zero-turn mower. John Bobo with Capital Tractor. Kubota Z232 puts power where you need it, when you need it. Save now with our spring specials. Powering Alabama, Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1. WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Today's show is brought to you by Daylight Saving Time. It's later than you think. Or is it?
I'm not too sure about that myself. All I know, David, and for once I get to contribute some wisdom to this conversation. And I don't want anybody to be alarmed. We still have about 8 hours left in the day, but you're more likely to die today than any other day. Somehow I got to find a more effective way to not alarm people with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, well, that's why, it could be any day of the year in here. That's why we keep these handy.
Clear. Yeah.
Accidents are also more likely to happen in morning commutes between 6 and 8 as our bodies reacclimate to a different environment when we're doing things at the same time every day, which we normally adapt to on a gradual basis. So there you go. And we hope that we all survive to the end of the day in good shape.
We hope we survive to the end of this segment.
Well, yeah, there is always that. The question And I think the only doubt about it, David, is what was used. But was Joe Biden drugged during that State of the Union speech? He looks like that Jeff Dunham puppet every day.
Yeah, he does.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, how else can we explain it? I mean, obviously he was on something. I mean, how do you explain the difference between the hyperventilating, hyperactive guy you saw Thursday night
Mhm.
and the doddering old stumblebum who can't read his teleprompter and just mumbles and walks around, doesn't know which way to go off the stage? We see every other day of the year.
Yes.
Obviously, there was something different inside his system Thursday night. What was it, Adderall? I don't know what it was, but obviously he was drugged. And, I mean, that's what they have to do to get him through events like that. How much longer can his 81-year-old body take that kind of abuse?
And it creates this. I mean, the drugs may keep him lucid enough to get through a speech, but the persona they create with him is just an angry old man.
Yeah.
Who accepts no responsibility for anything.
Right. And has no ability to, most speakers, when they're trying to emphasize a point, can change the tone of their voice or the cadence of their speech or do something to make the audience know. There's all kinds of tricks you can use. I've done a lot of public speaking to let the audience know that this is really important. All he can do is yell. Okay.
Yeah.
When he thinks something's more important than what he just said, he just starts yelling. That's the only thing he can do because he has no other ability to control what he's doing at this point in his life. And that's sad. And what they're doing with him is, without any doubt at all, elder abuse. We shouldn't be tolerating as a society. We shouldn't be tolerating this charade of a presidency. And
yet
unfortunately, I mean, the alternative is even worse, right?
What was the number I saw this morning? The overall inflation since he took over is 21%.
Yeah.
Everything that we bought 3 years ago is now 21% more expensive. Our incomes are not keeping pace with that. In fact, I saw another interesting stat that rather than people buying houses as individuals, there are people that are buying houses together who are not husband and wife, but they're buying in a place where they can both set up shop, have privacy and stuff. It's about 15% of the real estate market.
Yeah.
And this is what it's come to.
Well, the average price of a new home when he took office was $215,000, the average nationwide price. Today, it's over $400,000 in just 3 years. It's almost doubled. People can't afford that. Obviously, with 21% inflation, which I saw an economist this morning making a very good point, the inflation rate compounds on itself.
Mm-hmm.
When the White House keeps saying, well, inflation's come down, it was 7% last year, this year it's just 4%.
Oh,
well, but you're not starting from the same point, right? I mean,
the higher point.
We're now 21% above. The baseline is now 21% higher than it was when Biden took office. So another 4% inflation this coming year is going to take it up over 25%. It compounds on itself. And the messaging out of the White House is so utterly dishonest. Not just about inflation, but about every issue.
Everything.
It's the whole administration is just this enormous gaslighting operation to tell you you can't believe what you're experiencing at the grocery store. You can't believe your eyes. You can't believe your senses. You can't believe your memory. You just have to believe what we're saying. We're telling you your reality is not real. What we're telling you is real. Just believe us. That's the definition of gaslighting. And that's all this administration does anymore.
By the way, people that vote for their own stupidity and outcomes in New York, once again, not only do they have weepy Mayor Adams, who just be pathetic. Now, Kathy Hochul The only governor in America who has a name that sounds like something stuck in your throat.
Yeah.
Has banned they're sending the National Guard in to protect people on the subways. That's how bad it's gotten with their no bail, all that crap that Tubby, the DA, has instituted there. But she doesn't want them with guns.
Right. So what good is that doing?
Yeah, exactly. That's I mean, I've had, maybe I'm just naive, David, but I've always had this thing when I see a soldier and the soldier is armed, I kind of presume they are responsible people who are with every intent of using that weapon for its intended purpose. And back to New York, one thing that we just touched on briefly earlier, that New York firefighters who are clearly Trump supporters and booed Letitia James are now being headhunted by their commissioner for exercising their free speech.
Yeah.
How is that even how is that even legal? That
I don't know. I mean,
where's
he's
the
a
union?
Democrat. The commissioner's a Democrat, so I guess it's legal because he's a Democrat. I mean, that's what our legal system is now. Letitia James is a Democrat, so she's beyond criticism or booing during a public speaking event.
Hey, I know you have studied the bejeebers out of the Fannie Willis thing. Funny meme going around with Gary Coleman saying, "What you talking about, Willis?"
I haven't seen that. I gotta
Yeah.
find that.
Yeah, that's good. In fact, send it out so I can post it and credit you. The whole absurdity that that protection. It's like almost a mafia racket where having that D next to your name allows you to get away with so much more than anybody else.
It's
But what's the
amazing.
latest on Fannie? Anything new there today that I missed?
Not today. We're supposed to get a decision out of this judge this week, apparently. That's the rumor that's floating around now. He's going to issue his decision this week, and nobody has the slightest clue what it's going to be. I mean, we got to hope he makes the decision based on the facts. If he does that, I mean, clearly she has to be taken off the case. Really, she should be prosecuted for perjury. Obviously, she's perjured herself. And so did her boyfriend, and so did, unfortunately, the other lawyer, Bradley. It was a big effort to defraud the court, and hopefully the judge will be angry enough about that to do the right thing, even if it becomes costly to his political career.
Or, as others have found, it can get worse than just losing your career too.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole situation is so Stalin-esque, it's nauseating. Now, Adam Schiff, now he's going to be running for the Senate in California, right?
He finished first in the initial primary. They have this jungle primary situation out there. Steve Garvey, the only Republican in the race, finished a close second, and then the two other Democrats were eliminated. So, Garvey got about 32% of the vote, and Schiff, the Democrats combined got the other 68%. So that kind of tells you that Schiff is probably going to have a pretty easy win in the general election.
He's one of those people. You just look at him, and he's so repulsive.
Yeah, well, so he's just like Gavin Newsom. They're both so obviously phony,
yes,
criminals. And the people of California, I mean, to anyone else in the country, they're obvious phonies, right? But the Californians, for some reason, they're fine.
So the CIA, he says the CIA will withhold security briefings from Donald Trump. Where does he get that authority to make a statement like that?
Yeah, so once you become the nominee of one of the two major parties, and I presume that RFK Jr., if he's polling, up over 20%, he'll probably get them too. The intelligence community begins providing you with national security briefings through the general election campaign. And Adam Schiff was quoted over the weekend as saying, well, the intelligence community won't be providing those to Donald Trump because they can't trust him. And I'm like, wow, really? I mean, that's pretty astonishing. That's just been something that's a matter of course. Trump got those briefings in the 2016 and 2016 campaign. Nothing leaked from the Trump campaign. A lot of stuff leaked from the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Yeah.
It's always the Democrats that are doing all the leaking of national security secrets. So, it's just astonishing to me that we continue with this farce.
Oh man. Just as we're getting ready to wrap up, I managed to not see this because I didn't want to have to not unsee it. John Cena was shuffling out naked at the Oscars last night.
Oh, yeah, I saw a clip of that. Well, if I looked like that, I'd probably be willing to do something like that.
David,
I got arrested for streaking in 74 and I didn't look anything like that, I'll tell you.
I do look like that and I wouldn't do it. Well, you'll BS detector. Let's wrap up by what are some of the things you're anticipating or keeping an eye on over the next couple of days?
I'm going to be out of pocket for the rest of the
What?
I'm going to try not to keep up with anything. I'm looking forward. Yeah, I'm going to be I'm going to be gone the rest of the week. I'm taking an actual real vacation where
Wow.
I'm not going to write. I'm going to try to stay off of social media as much as I can stand and really just kind of disconnect for a few days. So,
Does that mean no Thursday with you?
no Thursday. No, I won't be calling in on Thursday, I'm afraid.
Notify the boss that I would like the rest of the week off.
Okay.
I
I'll
want to
do
be
that.
I want to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to be out of pocket too. If it works for David, it should work for me. Just
You
fine.
may be gone Friday.
That's right. I do. In fact, I am going to New Orleans this weekend. I'm just not
Okay.
sure whether I'm going to leave Friday afternoon or maybe a little bit later. But either way, her birthday is tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
Daughter, and I just enjoy spoiling her. That's my
Yeah.
reason I
And
do.
in New Orleans,
Yeah.
boy.
Commanders, I am waiting for confirmation on my reservation there. And David, I hope you make the most out of the time you have coming and enjoy it, relax, and we can resume this adventure into the Idiocracy a week from today. Please keep your
Good
plug
deal.
address one more time so people can find you.
Okay, last time I promise it's davidblackman.substack.com for politics and blackman.substack.com for energy. And boy, well, I would say I write about both every day, but I'm fixing to take 5 days off. So, 4 days.
Enjoy them, David.
All right.
It's always a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Y'all have a great week.
You too.
Well, that is